Hi everyone, Tom Vogel, wrestling's finest PC pro wrestling game. Today we're going to do a new wrestling video. I got to fix my microphone here. My wife was trying it out. She messed it all up. Just give me just a second there. So, today's video, it's going to be more geared toward people that already have wrestling's finest. However, I think for those that follow along just because I like to see what's going on with Wrestling's Finest or possibly might be considering getting the game, it does kind of tell you some of the in-depth features that the game does have that I think you will not find in other games. So that being said, this is going to be real point specific, and it has to do with pre and post match attacks. So, getting started here, I've already gone ahead and selected my two wrestlers, Tommy Rich and Roddy Piper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have computer's going to control both. And this here, we are not really worried about anything here. In fact, I'm going to set just a 10-minute time limit just in case it goes a little long, because I'm not concerned about actually running the match. I just want to show you some things about the pre and post match that some people may not be aware of. They might be and forgot about it, or might be a tad confused. So we're going to try to simplify things here with this video. It's also discussed in my newsletter that I got to get sent out here. I've been working on it for the last week or so, but this will tie into the newsletter I'm sending out. So what I've done is I've checked face for our computer controls both wrestlers. Now, for those that are familiar with the game, we have a feature here for pre-match setting. This means pre-match attack setting. So if I don't change it, it means the procedures will be followed in any of them. Let me click this on here. We have a normal, half, I don't know if you can see it there, but never. And the procedures are always checked the same. So if you check normal, it means everything just stays the same. If you go half, then half the time the check will be made. And if you go never, then you'll never have a check for a pre-match. And you might say, well, why do you want different ones in there? Personally, if I let the computer control both wrestlers and it's a title match, and like I said, I don't care to control either wrestler, I just let the computer. I do not like having pre-match attacks in title matches just because you didn't see them that often. Even heels did not do the typical pre-match attacks only because they were scared of being disqualified or having it the tables turned on them to start the match. I'm not saying they didn't occur now and then. It's just my preference not to have them. But again, each gamer can do what they want. So for now, we're just going to keep it at normal. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I think I'm going to go through a couple different scenarios with you. This is the first one, so we're going to click OK. So we're ready to start the match. Now, here, this is, I always check this, the view, show match information. It shows you where all your settings are made. We have computer controlled face, computer controlled heel, got my 10 minutes, it's classic match, DQ, all that. We don't really care about any of that for this one, but there's the information. Now, here's what you have to do. Even since I'm letting the computer control both wrestlers, this part's very important, so I hope I do a good job of explaining it. Since the computer's controlling both wrestlers, it has to decide for each wrestler independently, are they wanting, that's the key word, wanting to attempt a pre-match attack. The two key words in this little spiel I'm going through are wanting and allowed. The wanting part is, I'm going to use some silly analogies, but I want to have Chinese food. That's what I want. Okay, now my wife can veto it, meaning she's not hungry for it. So just because I want it doesn't mean she wants to go along with that. Now, typically, I'll just go get it myself and then we'll stop whatever she wants, but that's beside the point. So I want Chinese food. Now, when the computer's controlling one or both wrestlers, how does the computer make a yes, I want it, or no, I don't? Because we're talking 100% yes or 0% no. It's impossible for the computer. So the computer has programmed into it a percent chance that they are going to want, again, the word want to attempt a pre-match attack. My Chinese food analogy would be, I'm sitting here, I'm not sure if I want to go to Chinese food. I'm pondering, do I, don't I? I'm kind of waffling around, but eventually I'm going to get to yes, I want it, or no, I don't. Well, the computer, what it does is it is programmed in certain percentages. Like, for example, and to be honest, I can look them up, but I don't have them committed to memory. In this match, Roddy Piper's percent chance of wanting to attack Tommy Rich is going to be greater than Tommy Rich wanting to attack Roddy Piper. So the computer will do this wanting check for each wrestler. Now, here's the key. Let's say, just because it would make more sense for Piper to do the attack on Rich, good guy, bad guy, Roddy Piper, let's just say, wants to do the attack. Okay, now we get into the second word I want to discuss, which is allowed. He wants to attack it, but is he allowed to go through with the attack? Again, my Chinese example, I want Chinese food, but am I allowed to have it? Meaning maybe my health doesn't allow it, maybe I'm snowed in and I can't get it, or maybe the restaurant I want to go to is closed, meaning even though I want to, I'm not going to be allowed to get it. Same thing here. Just because you want to doesn't mean you get to it, thus not being allowed. And so what happens for the game is, again, we're going to assume Roddy wants to. If you look at Roddy's card here, you'll notice, got to go to control here, his outside ring rating is 10, which is as high as it can be. Okay, keep 10 in mind. Now we're going to look at Tommy Rich. How you look at it is we compare Roddy Piper's 10, and then we're going to take the second auto control loss rating for Rich, which is a 4. Those two ratings are then used to determine if a pre-match attack is going to, or let's say, is it going to be allowed to occur. Now, the Piper 10 is as high as it can be. Rich's second rating of 4 is a very high. The highest that can be is 5. So if you have a wrestler whose outside ring rating is, say, 8, and you have his opponent's second ratings of 5, there's a less likely chance he's going to be allowed to do the attack than, say, Piper at a 10 and Rich at a 4. The lower like for Rich, the lower his second rating is and the higher the attacker rating is, it means more likely it's going to be allowed. So if Tommy Rich's second rating was only a 2, then Roddy Piper would have a very good chance of being allowed to do the attack because, again, in our example, the computer determined that he wanted to. So again, computer determines if you want to. The game ratings determine if he's allowed to. So now that, hopefully that makes sense, might have to rewind it. So what you're going to do, since both guys are being controlled by the computer, you're going to click pre-match action. Okay, now here's what happens. I can't click or check or uncheck either wrestler. So what this screen tells you is that Roddy Piper wants to attack Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich's name is, you don't have a check by his name, therefore he does not want to. So forget about Tommy Rich right now. He's not involved in this part of it. So I'm going to click OK, and now part 2 is going to go into play or into effect, and that part 2 is, remember our keyword, allowed. The game's going to check the 2 ratings I showed you, and it's going to determine if Roddy Piper is allowed to, do the attack. We got some snow here in Tennessee and a bunch of ice, so kids have been outside my window here. I look out at this little green space with some little slopes, and so kids have been out sledding the last few days. I know every kid wants to go out sledding, but not every parent is allowing it. So the example here, Roddy Piper wants to go sledding, and now we're going to see if he's allowed to go sledding. And the allowed in the game is based on ratings. It's not just a random check. So hope that analogy wasn't too stupid, but we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now the check will be made for if Roddy's allowed to. Okay, it will always give you this match information before the attack occurs. I clicked it manually, so we might reverse this a little bit, but anyway, so I'll click OK, and now once I click OK, the pre-match occurs, or the attack was allowed. You can read it here. I let you read it there. So this was a very excellent pre-match attack by Roddy Piper. Not only was he allowed to, but it turned out in his favor. Is about as good as it can be. 30 off, 29 off in cuts already on Rich. So this match has already started with Tommy Rich being minus 59, big cut number 29, and Roddy Piper 0. So this was a complete success here. Now, one other thing I have to mention, because this might cause some confusion, because one gamer had brought up something, and if Roddy Piper wants to do the attack, and he's allowed in this example, you will get some type of result from the chart, meaning, I don't want to say one of 3 things can happen, but basically you can have a positive result for Piper, which this was one of the ultimates you could have. You could have a negative for Piper, meaning something, let's just say bad happens to him, where Tommy Rich turns the tables on him and stamina comes off Piper. Or this result possibly could have happened to Piper, where not only does he get beat up, he also has a cut himself occur. So instead of all the bad stuff happening to Rich, it can happen to Piper. Now, the third thing is you could have a neutral event, meaning both of them get cut, or they both brawl and stamina's off on both. I mean, some event occurs, and then you do get some of the ultimate ones, and those are things such as injuries, disqualifications, which could be good or bad. Roddy Piper could get suspended. That could be good or bad. But so those are the results, but you are going to have something occur. There is no such thing as nothing occurs. If Roddy wants to do the attack, which he did, and if he's allowed to, which happened, then you're going to get something off the chart. Now, if Roddy wanted to do the attack but was not allowed to, you will get a text message indicating some of them will say something, Roddy Piper looked to attack Tommy Rich. However, the ref was keeping an eye on Piper, and therefore Piper deserved discretion, was a better part of valor, and did not attack. It will give you an explanation why he was not allowed. In some cases, sometimes it will just say no attack is made, meaning Roddy wanted to, but he was not allowed to. So when you see something to the effect that no attack has occurred, that doesn't mean he was allowed to. It means he wanted to, but was not allowed. I hope that makes sense, but because it's very important to understand, the difference. Because somebody had mentioned, boy, I sure get a lot of times where Roddy Piper will do an attack, but then nothing occurs. Well, he didn't do the attack, and the text saying that nothing occurred is just to let you, the gamer, know that he wanted to, but he was not allowed. Okay, I went ahead and completed the match here. Again, I wasn't too concerned about the actual match itself, but if you can read this turned out to be an awesome ending. Roddy dominated this match. First of all, he's only minus 14 to minus 128. Roddy was in control 17 times. Rich was only in 4 times. And so as you can see the result here, Tommy Rich suffered a serious injury, out 111 days. It's Tommy Rich on the shelf for over 3 months, almost 4. So now that the match is over, and remember, the computer controlled both wrestlers, so now we're going to go to the post-match action. I don't have any say because the computer's controlling both wrestlers. So this is very similar, or it's exactly the same, the steps for a pre-match attack. The computer's going to decide if either wrestler wants to do a post-match attack. Then if either or both want to, then we use the ratings I showed you earlier to see if they're allowed to. And here's very, very important that I don't think a lot of people do when they are playing with computer versus computer is, and sometimes I guess it falls under computer controls one and you control the other, you have to click post-match action. You must, because otherwise you stop here. The match isn't officially over. So let's say, I'm going to go to my next match. You miss out on anything post-match. So we're going to go ahead like we did with the pre-match. We're going to click post-match action. And you'll notice this time, no check marks. This means neither wrestler wanted to do an attack. And since neither wrestler wanted to do an attack, it's a moot point to see if they're allowed to. Now, following a match, it takes into account, is the wrestler a face or a heel, just like in the pre-match. Heels have a higher chance of wanting to do the attack, a pre-match, than a face does. Same thing at the end of the match. You look at the rate, is he a heel, face? I think we even look at heel champion, face champion. We look at every possible scenario. And a heel is, I don't want to say much more, but a little bit more, I guess, likely to want to attempt a post-match attack if he lost the match. Which makes sense. He loses, he's upset, he wants to save face, he attacks the wrestler. I know some people would like to see more post-match attacks, where the wrestler wants to. I can understand that, but keep in mind, just because the wrestler wants to doesn't mean he's going to be allowed to. I can play around with the wanting to, because I could increase the percentage, which I might, that the computer, says, okay, the heel wants to have a higher chance that he wants to do the attack. But once that happens, then it all comes down to the wrestler's ratings. I think some people would like to just be able to do attacks anytime they want, but personally, I don't think they occurred that often. We're used to seeing them when we watched, WCW and WWF from the, late 80s on, where if a heel lost on TV, national TV, he had to get his heat back. So what would he do? He would attack the face. And I guess even in the studio shows for the territories in the late 70s, early 80s, that might be true too. But I have seen so many DVDs. Some of them are handheld, by fans, the old 8mm, where heels get pinned clean, in house shows. We're talking mid 70s to the early 80s, and nothing happens after. Just like I've seen faces get pinned clean that shocked me. But remember, before the internet, who would know it other than the people there? And so even if they told 50 people, who's really going to know that, Blackjack Mulligan, the heel, was pinned clean, in Roanoke, Virginia by Ricky Steamboat? Word didn't get around, and most of the time Mulligan did not attack Steamboat. It just didn't occur. So that all being said, the post-match attack is based on your style: face, heel, tweener, oddball, and did you win, lose, or was the match some type of draw? So in this example, we're not going to have anything occur. So we're going to click OK. Post-match, this was one where no explanation was given why it didn't occur. It just says no tack is attempted because neither wrestler wanted to. So that concludes this example. I have one more I'm going to show you. Let me get it set up here for a second. So I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I went back to reset this matchup. So the only thing I did different this time is I am controlling Roddy Piper. Better make sure of that before I make an idiot of myself here. Let's show match information. Tommy Rich is computer controlled. Roddy Piper is human controlled. So good. So that was the only change I made. Tommy Rich is still being controlled by the computer. I am controlling Roddy Piper. Now, here's the difference. So we're going to go ahead and click pre-match. And since the computer is controlling Tommy Rich, it decides if he's going to do the attack, and it's not. I control Roddy, so you see me checking on and off. Do I want to attack? I get 100% decision on this. I get to choose if I want to go, to the Chinese restaurant or go sledding. I decide. Now, if I say yes, then I still have to find out if I'm allowed to. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and click yes, Roddy wants to do a pre-match. I'm going to click OK. Gives us our match information, which I find very helpful to make sure I didn't screw something up. So we're going to click OK. And now it tells you here, Roddy Piper flies through the ring ropes, but is greeted with a punch and a knee to the head, which knocks him violently to the floor. I'll let you read the rest of it. But basically, Roddy has 30 off, but the cut was just a little one. So it's -2. So this is an example of Roddy Piper having it backfire. And again, that, for those that play Wrestling's Finest know very well that every decision, or I think every decision, there's always a good and bad possibility. Just because you choose to do something or click something doesn't mean it's gonna necessarily be good. It's just like, when you play a tabletop or computer baseball game, if I want to have a 320 pinch hitter come off the bench, there's a chance he could line into a double play, strike out, possibly even get injured, but there's no guarantee the decision you're gonna make is always gonna turn out good for that wrestler. Now, this one here, this is kind of one of the reasons I hate doing attacks if it was a title match. So here we have the situation. Piper wanted to do the attack, and that was me because I'm controlling him. It's a simple yes or no. Do I want Piper to do the attack? Yes, I did. Now it comes down to, is he allowed to? And in this case, once again, he was allowed to. We got the result because, like I said earlier, once the want to and allowed to are both passed, then you will get some result off the chart. There is no such thing as nothing occurs. You will get something. So I'm going to go ahead and skip through this match so I can show you the end. Okay, here we have, since I'd set the time limit to 10 minutes, it ends in a draw. You can tell Roddy just really got beat up bad, 58 off to 116. But now we're back to the post-match action. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. Should have set these up earlier. Again, the computer controls Rich, so I can't click it on or off even if I wanted to, but the computer has said Tommy Rich does not want to do the attack. Now, since I'm controlling Piper, I decide if Piper wants to do the attack, and I'm going to say yes, he wants to. Now the computer is going to use the ratings, the game engine is, and determine if he's allowed to. So we'll go ahead and click OK. So here we go. Roddy Piper thinks Tommy Rich is not paying attention, but is sadly mistaken as Tommy Rich greets him with a big punch. The battle goes outside the ring and they continue fighting until other wrestlers can separate them. So in this example here, we have this is what I was telling you earlier, this is a neutral event. Piper does save some face. Well, I guess he doesn't really save face because it was a draw, but this would be a good post-match attack because the battle goes outside the ring and they continue fighting until other wrestlers can separate them. So from an angle standpoint, you could have said this was a TV studio match and you go off the air with, a pull-apart brawl, or you could have said it would have been a house show, but you wouldn't have had a 10-minute match. But anyway, the point of this is it shows you how the post-match did work in this case. Okay, I went ahead and hit replay match. I didn't change any settings, so we're going to do our pre-match action. Again, computer controls Rich, nothing. I'm going to go ahead and try an attack for Piper. I want to. Now, will he be allowed? Here's our pre-match summary. Here we go. Tommy Rich is ready for any pre-match shenanigans, so Roddy Piper does not attempt an attack. This is the perfect example of Roddy Piper wanting to, because I said yes, he wants to, but using the ratings of the game, Tommy Rich and Roddy Piper's ratings didn't come out in Piper's favor, meaning he was not allowed to do the pre-match attack. So that's why you get this statement. You would not have gotten this statement had Roddy been allowed to do the attack, because we would have gone then to the pre-match attack chart. And by the way, those attack charts are separate. One's for a face, one's for a heel. Just so you know, we do use different ones there. So this match then would go on as normal. So I went ahead and finished the match, and we have another draw, 10 minutes. So now we're going to check our post-match. Again, computer, Tommy Rich, they're not going to try it. I'm going to go ahead and click it for Roddy. He wants to. So now we're going to see if he's allowed to. Roddy Piper attacks Tommy Rich and is joined by an ally. This tells me that an attack did occur, or he was allowed to. I'm sorry, Roddy Piper was allowed to do the attack. We go to the chart, and the result that came up is Roddy got to attack him. Him and a friend or an ally double-teamed Rich. Help arrives from the back to stop this senseless attack. Again, I could see this happening like on a TV show where, Ole Anderson, Don Morocco, somebody comes from the back at the draw, at the end of the match when it's a draw, and they help Piper double team, and they're pounding away, but then Wrestling 2, Bob Armstrong, whoever else hit the ring, chase Piper and say Ole Anderson away. So, this is a situation where the attack was allowed. Now I'm going to end this now, but I just want you to keep in mind a couple things when you run your matches. Even if you're letting one or both wrestlers are controlled by the computer, be sure you click or check the pre-match button. So let's do this real quick. We're going to hit replay. Remember to click the pre-match so you can see if either wrestler or the one wrestler you're not controlling is going to do a pre-match attack or wants to. So again, here's the example. Rich computer does not want him to. I choose for Piper. I'm not going to this match. So you click OK. Click OK. Let me get out of this, and then we're going to, Roddy Piper cannot find an opening to attack Tommy Rich. So basically what that is saying is that it gives you, even though Roddy didn't want to, part of the reason he didn't want to is he couldn't find an opening. So whether if you don't want to or if you're not allowed to, the text file will come up. So the way I look at it this way is Roddy Piper ended up not wanting to do the attack because since I controlled him, I said no. But part of the reason maybe he didn't want to is he could not find that opening he was looking for. Okay, so finally here, I had another draw. I finished the match. Remember, if you're controlling one or no wrestlers, you have to click the post-match action to trigger anything. If I was controlling both of these wrestlers and I did not want to do an attack, I probably wouldn't click anything. I mean, I could click post-match, but then I'd just cancel it because I'm not doing it. But since the computer is controlling one of these wrestlers, you have to check this to kind of complete the whole process. So we're going to click here. Again, the computer does not want Tommy Rich to do the attack because, see, I can't even click him. I'm going to go ahead. I don't even want to do it for Piper. We're tired. We're just going. So I'm going to click OK. No attack is attempted. So, but the key is you have to click, the post-match, and the pre-match if the computer's controlling one or both wrestlers. Because if you don't, then that step is blocked from happening. So again, I want to make this a refresher. Maybe some of you were not even aware of this. So hopefully this helped. As usual, it went longer than I thought, but I had a lot to chatter about. I am going to do another one pretty soon. It's going to be on 2 out of 3 fall matches. I've noticed some gamers at our forum have been using 2 out of 3 fall, so I want to do a little refresher on that. But again, appreciate all the support for Wrestling's Finest. If you want to come visit us at our forum, just go to your search engine and type in Delphi, DELPHI, I think it is, forum, Wrestling Finest, and it'll take you right to our forum where we discuss the game. Some great stuff going on there, great gamers with some great replays. You have any questions on the game, you can also email me at Tommy V, that's TOMMY, initial V, 33 at att.net. But again, thanks for watching. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll be back with you soon. So long, everyone. Tom Vogel, Wrestling's Finest, PC Pro Wrestling Game.